Hello and welcome. We're excited to bring you When Every Student Matters, a K-12 approach for supporting students and promoting graduation. One in a set of videos and related materials from our team of researchers and technical assistance providers at the Regional Educational Laboratory, REL West, at West Ed. Our key message is that when students receive effective academic and non-academic supports, they can overcome barriers that get in the way of school success. Ask any educator and he or she will tell you that when children come to school, they bring their world with them, the experiences and influences, both good and bad, from all parts of their life. For many students, this means they start school with a strong foundation for learning and success, and as they progress through the grades, they continue to receive supports and opportunities from their family, school, and community. But for millions of other students, their world can get in the way. Mounting evidence shows that poverty, trauma, and difficult life circumstances can create significant barriers to learning. For these students to become successful learners and to graduate with a high school degree, they need the right kinds of additional support. Educators and communities are taking up the challenge to meet the needs of the whole child, providing both academic and non-academic supports to help students succeed. Such support includes tutoring and mentoring, healthcare, meeting basic needs, and enrichment opportunities. This video highlights one community in Utah that has linked schools across the grade spans, called a cone, to provide additional support to students whose worlds are especially challenging. The Roy Cone includes over 8,000 students attending Roy High School or one of the 10 elementary or junior high schools that feed into it. Together with the Weber School District and community and business leaders, Roy High and the partnering schools are using a collaborative approach to better help their students succeed in school. When staff at Roy High asked hard questions about its attendance and graduation rates, student achievement, and post-secondary transitions, it caused them to rethink ways to improve student outcomes. They found that their school not only needed to do more to support its own most vulnerable students, but also needed to find a way to expand supports to the lower grades, with the intent of intervening earlier to stop problems before they start. For an overview of the Roy Cone efforts, let's first hear from one of its founding leaders, Gina Butters.
So the rally cry of the Roy Cone has been the power of one child, one teacher, one team, one community, and really all centered on one dream, one outcome, which is everybody graduates college and career ready. So we decided that we were going to try an all-in cone-wide approach. And in hindsight, best decision we ever made. In order to do that, you need everybody on board, and you need everybody that has an impact at any given point along a child's trajectory to be involved and invested and committed. If we were going to own the child, so to speak, from K through 12, we needed to address some pretty specific foundational issues we were seeing. And so we realized we were going to have to put in some very bold strategic interventions at the earlier grades. Those kinds of interventions probably wouldn't have even have been talked about without all of the right people at the table. We really tried to build every initiative that we came up with around this idea that we needed to pay more close and particular attention to each individual child. And what that entails is asking every educator involved to broaden their capacity. Counselors were asked to go beyond what they normally would have seen their job to be. Teachers were asked to take on and adopt, so to speak, an individual child that they saw that was struggling and to pay more attention to that child and provide more intervention in class to those children. Every educator goes into the biz, so to speak, because they care about kids. I don't think, though, that many of us realized how much more capacity we have to care about kids.
Although still in its early stages, the cone has already begun to make a positive difference. Focusing at the high school, 3 strategies in particular stand out: the Royal Review and Reward, student advocates, and home visits. The Royal Review and Reward is one of Roy High's academic safety nets. It catches students whose grades have fallen and provides them with extra instructional time with their own teachers throughout the week to relearn content, make up credits, and earn passing grades.
And every school has its own version of this, but we at Roy High called it the Royal R&R program. It's called Royal Review and Reward. And it's a mouthful, but what it entails is providing incentives for kids that are achieving and doing what they need to be doing, coming to class on time, coming regularly, achieving good grades, turning in homework, staying current in class. And then also providing, besides incentives, providing interventions for kids that weren't meeting certain standards. It has been a huge game changer for kids that are struggling because they've been able to access their teachers every class, every week, and get the extra help that they've needed in class.
So the difference between the R&R program is it's built into the schedule so that kids have to be there. They're in class already, so it's a little extra time that they get to spend with their teacher.
The R&R period has allowed us to actually give help right after we teach the concepts in class. Before, we just had to take a chance the student could come in before and after school.
It gives teachers a little bit of extra time each day to work with those kids that need some help. It could be the top end kids that had questions about, the assignments. It could be the kids that had missed a couple days, that had a missing assignment, that they could work with them one-on-one. They could be in small groups. We had teachers that were bringing in tutors during the R&R so that those students would get a little extra time and a little extra attention, which helped academically and attendance-wise, both. During reward, they could go to the commons. They could do some silent study time in the cafeteria. They could go to a computer lab and work in the computer lab, or they could go to the library. And so that was their reward. And so the reward portion of it, kids started getting really, really protective of that reward portion. They earned it, they worked hard to get there, and they deserved it.
To better understand why some students are struggling in or disengaged from school, the Cone also supports students one by one with student advocates who help them get back on track.
So basically how the student advocate came about was obviously we had a need to help some students, and we figured very early that as administration counselors that we couldn't do it all. With doing the other responsibilities that we had, we needed some extra support to work with them. And so we wanted this person is not a disciplinary person at all. This is a person of support. Just what the advocates, in the name advocate. They advocate for this kid. They want this kid to be successful, as we all do. But their role is that of, how can I help you? How can I help you to get to school? How can I help you to do well in school?
Basically is someone extra to throw that lifeline to a student, just someone extra to reach out to the student, someone extra just to let a student know that they're cared about and they're being watched over, and someone that's going to stick up for them, someone that's going to mediate for them with a teacher, mediate with their parents, mediate with the administration. A student advocate is able to just follow through with the student, making sure they're getting their homework in, kind of just tracking them on homework, attendance, and just basically someone that they know is there for them.
We found too sometimes it was some emotional needs that had to be met, as well as even at times physical needs, And the student advocates are critical in working with the families, not just the student, but the families as well, and not just a high school student, but also if there's a junior high student there, also if there's an elementary student, working with that whole family as a cone to help that student be successful. Student advocates and counselors are housed in the same place at the high school. They meet once a week and discuss kids, their needs, what's going on. Counselors are one of the best ways that we identify our students.
So if you were to talk to a student about what their advocate is to them, I would say that they are not only a friend, but someone that they can rely on and that they know they can always trust, and someone that they're accountable to.
We have students that just need a little extra push, a little extra kindness, just somebody who cares.
In the Cone, student support reaches across grade spans, schools, and families, with home visits opening doors to address many non-academic barriers to learning and school success.
We decided we were going to go to our struggling families versus waiting and asking them to come to us, inviting them to come into the school setting.
When we haven't seen the kid for a few days, and we've made contacts and still nothing's come about, that's when we're going to do a home visit. So we always go in pairs, and plus just to know that there's more than one person that supports them.
So then I will get with the counselor, preferably their counselor, so it's a familiar face. We would make arrangements so a teacher could go on their prep hour to go to the home of these students. By taking teachers and counselors out on home visits, they were able to see the lives of their students and why their students were having the issues that they were having. And a lot of times it's just knowing that someone's here at school that cares about them, that they're not just a student in a school, that they are a person in a school, that they are wanted. You'll be able to see how students live. You'll be able to see why your students are missing school. If we would get to the home and realize that it was more than just a motivational issue for them to come to school, we would use our community resources. By doing home visits, we were not only able to connect with the student that was missing from the school, but we were also able to connect with the whole family. We are able to provide resources and information that would better the family.
And it makes a difference when you show up on somebody's door. They know you really care because you're really making an extra effort.
The Roy Cohn educators have helped students make good progress on a number of fronts, and they are striving for even better student outcomes.
We have all of these academic increases going on, and we have all of these behavioral infraction decreases going on at the same time. Attendance was at 29% in terms of chronic absenteeism, kids missing 10 days or more per school year. We reduced that the first year down to 13.7%. Grades, failure rates have plummeted. Graduation rates, we started with that baseline number of 71% about for the cone, and it's gradually increased every year. We jumped up to 84% after the first year as a cohort, and that's a huge jump. So we know for a fact that the culture shift that's happening to one of we are more focused on academics here in the Roy Cohn, and we will also help you in your pursuit of a better academic outcome.
We came to recognize that this really was something that was done one student at a time. And the student advocates that they had, the counselors, administrators, teachers, everyone really worked together.
So even though it's been a challenge to ask our educators to work harder, I think we've also seen many people infused with energy because they've felt the reward, the intrinsic reward of watching kids succeed and seeing when they take a risk and go outside of their comfort zone, so to speak, to help a child, what benefits can come from that.
We're all on the same team. The purpose with even the elementary schools and the junior highs is to help those kids graduate.
The Roy Cohn exemplifies how one community, to use its own words, is stringing together wins for kids by providing students with the academic and non-academic support needed to succeed in high school and beyond, so that each of them has the promise of a brighter future. Thanks for watching. For more information on this and other topics related to dropout prevention, please contact REL West at relwest@wested.org. We'd appreciate it if you would complete our online survey regarding this video at surveymonkey.com/r/supporting students video. Your feedback matters and is used for planning future events and videos.